All right, let's see if Tony and Allison are in the audience, so we'll pull them in so that they are here. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the March 4th, 2021 Community Preservation Committee meeting. John Torsha, I am the chair of the CPC. In attendance this evening is Francis Cornati, Tom Kay, Tony Zampaccini, Brian Davis, and our admin assistant, or soon-to-be admin assistant, Allison Sawyer.
Oh,
so I'm not sure if we have anybody else. We have another number on here. I'm not sure if that's maybe Lynn or somebody else from the committee.
I believe he's in.
Oh, I'm sorry, Don, what'd you say?
4387 is Tony. He's in already.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if the other number on here is Lynn or not. I haven't heard from her, but okay. So we will just keep going forward. So basically, for the purpose of kind of having Allison take minutes for the evening, I would entertain a motion at this point to, well, actually, first off, is there anybody recording the meeting at this time? If so, please indicate now. Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion from somebody perhaps to move the agenda out of order so we can have Allison start doing meeting minutes for this evening. So I'm going to move that the administrative assistant under new business, move it up ahead of the minutes, just so that we can do that now and get that out of the way. So do I hear a motion to move that piece out of order?
this is Brian. I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will do roll call. So Brian?
Brian Davis at large.
Yes or no on the...
Oh, sorry. Roll call. I'm sorry. Yes, I approve.
Francis? I'm not sure if your audio is on or not.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And Tom?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. And also Tony?
Yes.
Okay. So that passes unanimously. So I have been working with Allison now for the last week or two. And actually, Don, I will have you bring in Mary McNally. And she has been extremely helpful in kind of putting together a drive for us, putting together these minutes from last month, sort of just helping me with all this information. And Mary, who just got on here, also has been very helpful in kind of getting things together, not only for this meeting, but for the committee going forward. So we are very happy to have you, Allison. So good evening, Mary.
Hello.
I know did you want to say anything now, or did you want to wait until later on in the agenda?
No, I'm fine, John. You go right ahead. Thank you.
So we'll go keep moving forward on the agenda to the meeting minutes. So as you all got minutes emailed to you both last week and then the February 2021 meeting minutes this week. So what I'm hoping to do is to catch up on any meeting minutes that we have sort of missed or been unable to do. Now that we have an administrative assistant, me and her, she will be helping in kind of backtracking and getting those meeting minutes approved, so they're on the website, they're approved by this committee, and they're ready to go. So with that, we'll start with the last month's meeting minutes, February 4th, 2021. So those were sent out to everybody. I'm assuming everyone saw them. Are there any changes or revisions? If not, I'm not sure if there's some volume in the background there, but if not, I would entertain a motion to from somebody to.
To the chair,
Yes, Francis.
in the February 4th minutes, there's several places where it's not noted who seconded the motion. I don't know why. In some places it's there and in some places it's not. It just says was seconded. We need to put the name from now on.
So can I just jump in?
Sure.
I'm going to need some help. So if you could tell who was seconding, I'm happy to revise, but I couldn't tell from the audio who was speaking.
I don't remember. Sorry.
I can definitely look back and work with Allison to see who seconded. I know everybody's voice by chairing these meetings, so I will. So what I will do is we can approve those minutes and with the revision that the people who seconded all those motions be added in.
Okay, thank you. That's the only correction I have.
Okay. Does anybody have any other revisions? Hearing none, do I hear a motion, entertain a motion to approve those minutes, February 4th, 2021 minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
So Brian seconded.
Okay. All right. So we will go on roll call. Brian?
Yes.
Francis? Francis? Oh, sorry, your audio's muted.
Did it? Yes.
Tom?
More discussion. How can I vote when I wasn't a member of the board? You don't. Abstain.
Question, is this just for the February 4th minutes or is it previous minutes? Also?
No, these are for last month's meeting minutes.
Yeah, okay, I was present then. Thank you, sorry.
All right, so that will be an abstention. And then Tony?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. So that is 4 yeses, 1 abstention. Okay, moving on to the February 4th, 2020 meeting minutes. These were the meeting minutes, our last in-person meeting that we conducted. So I know that Francis and Tom were not on at that point in time.
I'm sorry, February 4th, I was present and I thought we just voted on those.
2020, we actually held,
I'm sorry, excuse me, 2021. Yes.
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, we actually held
I
a meeting.
apologize, happened to be the same date. Sorry.
Yes, yeah, it ended up being precisely the same day, just 1 year prior. So we have those meeting minutes. Those are the last time we had was in person. So I know Francis and Tom were not there, so obviously that would be an abstention. But does anybody have any revisions to those meeting minutes? Hearing no.
Yeah. Jonathan, Brian, it looks like it says unless I'm looking at the wrong one, it says February 5th, 2019. Do I have the wrong minutes?
I may have put the wrong date on that at the time. So that is must be a revision, but I'm almost positive it was Wednesday, February 4th, if I'm looking at the calendar.
Yeah, the title says February 4, 2020, but the date says Wednesday, February 5th, 2019.
2019. Okay, so the date must have been wrong. I know, yeah, okay, so it was on Wednesday, February 5th, actually, 2020, not 2019. So we will revise the date to make sure that that reflects that.
Okay.
Good evening, Lynn. We are just voting on February 5th, 2020 meeting minutes. So did you have any revisions or anything you wanted to offer to those meeting minutes? I know you were at the meeting.
Can you hear me okay?
Faintly.
All right.
A little bit better now.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay. I think what Francis mentioned that the names weren't seconded, I think that is the only thing that I could see for those meetings, those minutes. Everything
All right.
is great.
Everything looks good. Okay, yeah, we just voted on those. This is for the February 5th, 2020, so last year's meeting minutes.
Okay.
So if you had, so I'm assuming you don't have any revisions. Okay, so with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the February 5th, 2020 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, so by order of roll call here, Brian,
Yes, as amended.
okay. Francis, I know you weren't there, so abstain. And Tom, I know you weren't there as well, so abstain. And then Tony,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
and Ralph, I know you're just joining us now. We are voting on the February 5th, 2020 meeting minutes.
Yes.
Okay. And I am a yes as well. So that passes unanimously, 5 votes for, 2 abstentions. So moving on to the, I believe, let's see here, the December 4th, 2019 meeting minutes. So again, these are it's just another group of minutes that were created a while back. If I recall from that meeting, I don't think we had technically, or we just didn't end up approving them at that point for whatever reason. So.
John, you're frozen.
Okay. I'm not sure how much you heard, but sorry, the beauty of technology. So does anybody, I'm not sure if I heard anything, did anybody have any revisions to the December 4th, 2019 meeting minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the February 4th, 2019 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. So by roll call, Brian?
Yes.
Francis, again, I know you were not there, so you would be abstaining. Tom, I know you weren't there, so you will be abstaining. Lynn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. So, okay. And now our final set of minutes, all the way back to October 2nd, 2019. So these are the final meeting minutes that in the period of 2019 that we have yet to approve, that need to be approved. So are there any revisions or changes to those minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the October 2nd, 2019 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
Okay. All right. By roll call, Brian,
Yes.
Francis, and Tom, I know you are both abstaining because you were not members at that time. Lynn,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
and Tony.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well, so that also passes unanimously, 5 yeses, 2 abstentions. Okay, so that moves us beyond the meeting minutes. So I will be working with Allison to get, there are 3, I believe, remaining minutes that are outstanding from way back. So by our next meeting in April, we will be fully up to date with meeting minutes and can be submitted to the town's website. So we'll be fully in compliance with that. All right, so we will be moving on to the East Long Meadow High School track resurfacing project. So I see Bruce Feeney, I see Gordon Smith, and I see Greg Thompson in the audience, so we can bring them in. Let them get in. Okay. Good evening, gentlemen. So basically what's been happening over the last few weeks after this meeting, I know there was a lot of questions, a lot of that needed to be answered, a lot of different concerns and such. So what I'm hopeful that I was able to kind of answer everyone's questions answered, and I had an opportunity to speak to a number of you outside of the meeting separately, of course. And what I will have to say more, not just related to this project, but in general, it's sort of, I think, on me as a chair. I want to try to implement a better standard of, when one person's speaking, one person at a time, and if you would like to speak, perhaps, maybe if I don't see you or something, I have, raise maybe the chat bar and then also direct your questions to the chair. That's the more, I would say, kind of the Robert's Rules way of doing it. So I expect, not only with this discussion, but obviously we're going to have probably a number of projects that'll be coming up in the future and, discussions this evening. Talk to, as any of you know me, I'm happy to talk to anybody at any point in time. And, I pride myself in that, and I want to make sure that, all committee members are being heard equally, and all of their concerns are heard. We may not all agree on things. I don't really like when if a committee, just constantly agrees, okay, pass, or, approve, and it be completely, unanimous. There has to be, discussion, disagreement, and I welcome that, just in a, appropriate level. But I'm very happy with this committee's interest in these important issues because, at the end of the day, this is the taxpayers' money, both the state funds and the surcharge on property taxes. So bringing up money, I know the committee, and Mr. Mackey, I'm not sure if I can share my screen here. I wanted to just bring up the budget numbers quickly. So let's see here. This is the first time I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Share. Okay. Let's see here. So I put together a very brief little PowerPoint just on different things we were doing this evening. So we already went through the administrative position, the approval of minutes. So here are the, can everybody see the budget numbers that are on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I had the opportunity to speak to Steve Lonergan earlier this month to get the budget numbers to see where our accounts stand. So for those that in the public that may not already know, we have 3 specific targeted accounts. In addition, we have an undesignated fund that can go to any project that's under these accounts. We also have an administrative cost. So that will be the cost that, having an administrative assistant like Allison, those monies will be, brought out for that. Every year, the money that we get from the town as well as the state gets broken up. About 2/3 of it goes to undesignated, and then about 10% each goes to open space and recreation, historic, affordable, and then a remaining 5 goes to administrative. So I believe, if I'm doing my numbers correctly, that is 100%. So presently, if you'll see, and you all should have gotten this as committee members some time ago, last month, as of February 8th, so very recently, we have pretty much level across the board funding on these 3 balances that are going to specific things. Open space and recreation 271, historic preservation 257, affordable housing 245. And undesignated, which is a much larger amount because more of that money each year goes to it, is 737. And because of just COVID and different things, these numbers have sort of been building themselves up a little bit over the years, over the last couple of years. I took the opportunity to kind of dive into some previous notes from just recently as 2 or 3 years ago. These different accounts were $20, $30, $40, $50,000 lower than they were. So going to here, so we've taken in thus far about $235,000 between the property tax surcharge, which is 1% above $100,000 of value, and then also the state trust fund, which also is expected to get more money, as I believe Stuart had highlighted at our last meeting. So with that, that is, I believe we might be expecting, as Steve had told me, possibly some more money. I don't know exactly how much that is, but we're in the tax season right now, and I'm not a accountant or budget expert, but that number may go up potentially, is just what I was told. The CPC also paid approximately about $102,000, $103,000 in bonds. These both go to the Brown Field, as well as the Pine Knoll swimming pool. And then of course, as you all know, the administrative funds can only be used for CPC purposes. So I will stop sharing right now. So those are kind of where the numbers stand. I believe that with the, we are in I think a financially healthy shape. We are taking in, a good chunk of money. This is on an annual basis, and this hasn't been significantly changed by the pandemic. I think, the trust fund money comes from real estate transactions, and I know that the market has been pretty strong for real estate, I believe, in the state, even with this pandemic. So we haven't been impacted in the way that perhaps other funds or community or budgets have been necessarily affected. With that being said, though, we have to adhere and make sure that the money is going to the proper places. So with that, I wanted to open it up to the committee if you had any questions on the budget. Also, if you had any questions to our applicant and the representatives representing the high school track project. Tony, did you have something?
In regards to the track at the high school, I make a motion to approve, I believe it was $145,000. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
It was
134,000.
All right, to approve the amount of $134,000 to redo the track.
$134,722.49.
Okay, good.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Chair,
Yes.
is this still designated as a recreation line item?
Yes, because it would not be considered historic or affordable. This
Or
would be,
undesignated?
well, the Tony did not mention where this money could come from. An amendment could potentially be this comes out of the undesignated fund. So I would look favorably upon an amendment to add where we would be recommending the council to withdraw this money from.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I would recommend coming out of the recreational department. Why don't we ask Mary's opinion on that?
Okay. Mary?
Sure. My initial thought when it was submitted that last fall was that it would come from undesignated, which leads me to the only other point I really want to make tonight, and that is that in your future deliberations, I think the committee has to spend some time creating a plan. It's required under the statute, and it would sort of resolve, I think, some future questions going forward. So, and that plan would simply just discuss on an annual basis where you expected to spend money on what type of projects. And obviously, if you don't get applications that satisfy your committee, then those funds would roll over to the next fiscal year. But it's a long answer to a short question. My preference would be, although thanks for asking my opinion, I would have it come out of undesignated.
Okay, I agree.
So the motion, so you're amending the motion to add the money, the 134,729 and I think 49 cents come from undesignated funds.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second that.
You will second that amendment. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will start the roll call from the top here. Francis?
Yes.
Tom?
Since it's undesignated, yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
And Brian? I know we lost you there.
Yeah, but it seems like there's a general census on undesignated, so I'll say yes.
And I am a yes as well. So this project passes unanimously 7-0. So what I will do is I will work with Superintendent Smith, Mr. Thompson, and the school committee to put together, hopefully, I'm not sure if you're able to listen, Superintendent Smith, but sort of like a cover letter and just kind of outline our recommendation, our support, and kind of the merits to the proposal to the town council. We have 4 other projects that are ahead of this project. 2 of them, from what I've been told, might be added to the town council's agenda for next Tuesday, March 9th. So my hope is to be fair, to go in order. I hope, these smaller projects that we, the Norcross House, the dog park project, these are monetarily very tiny projects compared to the track in the Pine Knoll Playground. So I'm hoping to get those ones early out of the way, and then we can hopefully maybe, I don't know what the town council will do, but hopefully maybe meet about this within maybe April perhaps, so that we can get that ready for the kids and for the community going into maybe the summer and the fall.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate the support, and certainly we'll work with you on whatever schedule is best.
Fantastic. Okay.
Chair,
Thank you. Yes.
may I make a motion to go to executive?
I'm not sure if we're, Mary, correct. Are we allowed to go into executive session?
Not really. Is there some, you can take a recess and figure out if you have a valid reason, but typically that has to be on the agenda. And depending on the topic, you have to specify that on the agenda.
To go into executive to have a discussion?
Yes, because there's only 10 specific purposes for which you can go into executive session.
What we could do alternatively is have everybody except the committee members be on this portal right here, and then everybody else can be in the attendees list perhaps. But of course, well,
you can't really deliberate or discuss anything in executive session. Otherwise, you risk a violation of the open meeting law unless it's a valid reason. And there are, as I said, 10 specific reasons for going into executive session. I don't know, kind of an emergency the way it's being presented here and now. Is it urgent, Tom, or is it something that could wait till your next scheduled meeting?
Well, these are discussion points that need to be put forward, like when we do voting like this. I mean,
Discussion.
they're all valid points out. I mean, I would expect that we would have discussion points, but it's okay.
No, but I mean, is there a reason why they can't be discussed in an open session?
Sure, I'm okay with that then.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to be, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Chair, I removed the request.
okay. So were there points or discussions you wanted to make in regards to the project that we just voted on, or a future point, agenda point on the agenda, or something else?
Well, Chair, if I may.
Mhm.
When there's various projects that come forward as a collaboration in town, and we're trying, in speaking for recreation, there's many other projects that are, as Mary mentioned, there's line items, priorities, and various opportunities. If we could collectively work together between recreation, school, historical, all these various opportunities, one of the vehement points I tried to make on the last meeting was that there's a bigger opportunity for all of us to bond and create a better opportunity at our athletic complex, for which is suffering without bathrooms and stands, which could be bonded. That is my point.
Yeah, and I was very happy to, I want to work with these different committees. I appreciated, Tom, you giving me the opportunity to speak at one of your recent recreation meetings to kind of talk about CPC. This is a committee that maybe not a lot of people in the public know about. As Mary mentioned earlier, my hope is to develop this plan that we kind of long have been lacking. And then inside that plan, we can kind of highlight shared goals or shared aspirate type of things that we would like to maybe see done as a committee. But in addition to that, also seeking out, the Recreation Commission, the Historical Commission, the Housing Authority, because we do also have an affordable housing line item, and soliciting and seeing what are the what are the goals that these committees would like to see in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, short-term, long-term goals. So I think putting together this plan, which I'm hoping to start developing in earnest after this meeting, going into our April 1 deadline for new applications, this will be helpful as sort of a framework so that when new projects come forward in the future, we can look and say, well, this is where recreation, kind of where their long-term or short-term goals are, where historic and whatnot, and blah, blah, blah. And, where all these different, committees and groups in town stand. And that will better kind of guide the process and be able to not, sort of, I think, kind of we would all be communicating better. We would all be collaborating better together at trying to see where it's best appropriate, where this money goes. That plan hasn't been in place for a number of years now, but I'm hoping to change that, work with Allison and the rest of the committee to develop that. Francis, I see your...
To the chair, I have a
Yes.
question. I'm looking at the agenda, but I'm not sure what this relates to. I agree that we do need to meet and consult about a plan. Maybe we could do that at our next meeting, but we've just made a decision to allocate the money for the high school track, and the participants for that are still with us. I'm not sure what we're talking about right now, sorry.
Okay,
But I do agree, we should have it on the agenda for one of our meetings, that we need to make a plan. But I would need time to think about it before discussing it.
yes,
Chair,
Tom.
if I make it germane to the current conversation, when you presented to us, you presented our budget, our amounts, and what we've been bonded for Brown property and for the Pine Knoll pool. The points I'm trying to make are those were expenditures of 800,000 plus $1 million plus for purchases that were actually bonded out. So my hope was that we would have bathroom facilities, as pointed out in the last meeting, bathroom facilities and a snack shack and resurfacing the track as a package.
So I, unfortunately, just with the October 1 deadline, obviously long passing, my hope is perhaps maybe we can have a phase 2 of that, perhaps be submitted in the future. We have a April 1 deadline fast approaching, and then we also have our October deadline. That'll be later. And at that point, we can, develop that and maybe look into that, because I think that's an important feature component with our athletic fields and making sure that those amenities or services are offered to participants in sporting events or just the general community that uses this track quite frequently, being that it's open to the community. So,
Don, if I might add one more thing.
Yes, Mary. And yes.
Francis, I won't keep you guys here all night, but Tom Kay makes a good point. As I sit here, I'm not certain that construction of the shack or bathrooms on that site is an allowable project, because I thought I remember the representative from CPC Coalition indicating that you had to have an open roof maybe or something to that effect on the construction. It doesn't matter. For future reference, if that project remains important to you, I suggest that the Recreation Department bring it forward. There's, we got the rest of our lives to work on these things. And we do intend, I have some plans on our capital committee for the whole project at Heritage Park, that involves perhaps another significant bond by the town with some debt service perhaps to be paid by the CPC. So I don't want to get too far adrift for tonight. I recognize your point, and I think your plan, once it's devised and accepted, can sort of set out the steps that you want to see taken each year with some regularity, and it'll set out the processes to, hopefully avoid I think the problem from last meeting, thinking that a certain project had to be vetted and approved by certain committees that are represented on the CPC. I don't read the law that way, but the plan could certainly incorporate a conversation over the course of any given fiscal year that would embrace the preferences and the desires of housing, conservation, historical commission, as well as open space and recreation. So I hope that's helpful and not too much verbiage to toss at you. I think the lack of a plan is a significant deficit, that it's impinging your ability to be as effective as you'd like to be and as I'd like to see you be. So thank you, John.
Definitely. Okay, so I'd like to just kind of keep moving forward. My hope is, we can kind of resume this conversation. We're going to have a discussion on the Heritage Park, related Heritage Park. So at that point, I just want to keep just going a little bit forward so that we, going forward, just in terms of application updates to previous applications the committee has passed. My expectation is I was speaking to Jeannie from the town council. So I believe there is, I think, a hope that and Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but the dog park application project, and I believe the Norcross House application as it pertains to the porch will be on the agenda, I believe, for Tuesday, March 9th. That was what I had heard this week. And those two would be naturally the kind of two of the earlier ones to kind of look at. The dog park application now has been before us for about a year. And then obviously Norcross and also the Pine Knoll Playground have been with us for a year or a few months in the case of the Norcross House. So my hope was to, as I kind of explained to her, kind of break it up, get maybe two out of the way this meeting, get hopefully the Pine Knoll application out of the way later this month, even early next month. I know we've got a kind of a draft cover letter going around. So that'll be done, I'm thinking, at some point, and submitted at some point very soon. So we're kind of just moving, quickly and, progressively on these to kind of catch up for lost time, and hopefully see that the town council can weigh in on these and, take a look at these applications that we've recommended to them. So going on now, so now we are at the, we already did the administrative position that was moved out of order. All right, so the Heritage Park Architect Study application withdrawal. So I see in the attendance there's Donna Prather from the Rec Department. I'm not sure if we can invite her in, because I know this is an application that is related to the Rec Department. So obviously we had discussed this at the last meeting on February 5th meeting in 2020, just before the pandemic, our last in-person meeting. We had a vote and we recommended about, it is $113,101 to go towards a architectural study. So it would be to hire an architectural firm to formally put out an RFP. So that is pretty much exactly what verbatim the application said. And we had a discussion towards the end of this, our last meeting about this. I think I've spoken to some of you on the side about this. I've also gotten consultation, some advice from Stuart. I think it would be appropriate to recommend the withdrawal of these funds, not to indicate that we no longer support any effort that's going on in Heritage Park, but this is obviously not a cash box, and we can't unless the approved monies if it's not going to that exact purpose, which, as I was indicated to a few weeks ago, it no longer, the study to pay for that study is no longer needed. There's previous documents. And Bruce, not to call you out, but I think we had this discussion a few weeks back that there is no longer a need for a new study.
No, the study was completed back in 2016 and agreed upon, I believe, by the Recreation Commission and the previous director of the Recreation. And like I said, I took all that information that was approved and agreed upon and took it to the next level. I got in touch with the architect that did the study, and I had him put together a plan for that facility, including construction documents, which is roughly $471,500, and then the estimate for the construction end of the project, which came in at $7,369,670.
So Don, I'm not sure if you had any comments on this. I know this is coming from your department. If there's anything you...
No, I'm on board with what Bruce and Mary are. I'm just here to learn and listen. So I don't have any comments.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so my hope is, if there is a future Heritage Park project, I know that there's been discussion of that forthcoming at some point fairly soon, that we will have maybe the resources and we'll have to take a look at a possible project that comes before us. This is, I live right, a minute or two away from the park. I love the park. So I'm hoping to see, more resources put into it to kind of give its best potential. But at this point, kind of following the rules of CPC and, if it's not going to a specific purpose, then it's pretty much a black and white type issue that it would, the money would get withdrawn. And then, the rec department or the town can definitely come back with a new project or with different phases of a project for Heritage Park. And I think that will also be, Heritage Park itself, I think might be in that kind of long-term plan that we are seeking out to develop for the CPC. So
John,
with
if I
that,
may, I think, I could be wrong, but I believe the town council probably has to take a vote to rescind its approval of that amount of money, and I assume they would do that. And then the money can be redeposited perhaps into whichever special account from CPC it came from, or if it was from undesignated, that's fine. But I think our plan, at least at this infancy stage, is that it would roll back into the general account of CPC for use on the drawings in the phase that Bruce was just describing. That's roughly just shy of 400,000 at this point. Our capital committee is reviewing it this month. No decisions obviously have been reached yet, but it's a project that I want to strongly advocate for, and I think I'll have the support of the capital committee. And then it'll be up obviously to the council as to what phase we could do at one point if they have the appetite to proceed. So the 113 is the first step of just returning that money to the CPC, and I think the council would be inclined to do that.
Yeah. Ultimately, the authority rests with the council. My hope was perhaps to have a vote this evening to kind of give the council a direction or an idea of where we feel as a committee. So sort of more of a recommendation than anything else. So I just want to kind of open this up to the rest of the committee if you had any questions or discussions about it. Tom?
Yeah, so as the person who was there at the meeting and in regards to recreation for the $113,000 proposal, I'm just going to make a motion to withdraw the $113,000 proposal for the study to go back to where it came from, recreation. I'm going to make that motion.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. With that, is there any further discussion on the matter? Okay. With that, I will start with roll call. Francis?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. So this is a...
Jonathan.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Tony.
You forgot me.
I'm sorry.
See, it's all right. It's all right. I know.
I'm sorry. I see you're not. I see the participants, the panelists. So I kind of go down on here on the computer, and then I don't remember. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Sure.
Quite a few different votes this evening, so I apologize. So
you can put me down for a yes.
And yes. Okay. So that is a 7-0. That is unanimous with all members that are present. Okay. So that will be basically, I think, telegraphed to the council, and hopefully at some point soon that'll be withdrawn. So what I'll say just on the whole Heritage Park issue, if there is a project that is in the works, that is hoping to perhaps be submitted to CPC, I think it would be a very good idea to have it kind of submitted in by April 1, by that deadline. If we would like to start the process for this spring. Of course, we also have our October 1st deadline, which won't be a couple months down the road. And, this committee, I think this committee's shown that we, like Heritage Park. We've, voted in the past, obviously, this money to, help out Heritage Park and to add to its benefit. So that's just sort of something to keep in mind for the next few weeks, if that is something that'll be happening. Okay, so going down
to the chair.
Yes, Francis.
Jonathan, I didn't understand what you just meant by that. What is in the next few weeks?
In the next few weeks, so for April 1st, there will be a deadline for potential applicants to submit an application to the committee. And at that point, then after that deadline, we as a committee will review those applications, invite the applicants, ask questions, sort of kind of the same process that we've been adhering to now for, for the last few months with these projects. What I'm hoping to is to keep this, for this next cycle, keep these projects within, ideally maybe a 90-day period. So, we have, as I've given out the meeting agenda, the meeting kind of roster for the year to all of you. We approved that back in December. We're going to hopefully have meetings, in April, May, and June. So then, and then go on a summer hiatus. So at that point, hopefully get through, depending on how many applications we have for April 1 deadline, go through them in a more timely manner, just so that we don't have applications that are kind of languishing. And then at that point, they can go to the town council, and the town council can take its kind of time to look at these and review these applications as well. Yes.
Another question to the chair. Would it be possible for you to send us any incoming applications before our next meeting in April so that we can review them and be ready to discuss?
Absolutely. I know the correct process that we're going to kind of be forming, and I spoke to a possible applicantee just this week. I said to them, you're more than welcome, send it to me, but ideally, if you want to send it to me via email, just attach the town manager's office in it. So ideally, and this is technically how it should happen, or at least how the town has set it up, it gets vetted or goes through the town manager's office first. So then everyone can get a paper copy of it ahead of time. Unfortunately, I sometimes may not have the resources to make paper copies, and the town hall does, and Mary does.
That's what you think.
So
I, for one, don't mind getting an emailed copy. I don't need a paper copy of everything.
Okay. Yeah. So I know, some of you are more kind of easier. It's easier access on the computer. And then I know some of you, it's easier a paper copy. So we will make sure that, just in case anybody needs it, they'll have a paper copy of these. And I expect, no extension or anything or change of the deadline. We didn't do that last year. So it's going to be April 1, and then everything after that will be sort of added after October 1. That's sort of basically how it works. So just moving on now that we're kind of rounding out the end here.
John, could I just make one other comment responding to Francis' concern about Heritage Park?
Yes.
It's on my town manager advisory, capital advisory committee this year in total, 7.7 million. I don't expect that we'll be submitting an application per se to CPC for that project because I don't anticipate the CPC could ever approve a $7.7 million project. But the town could, and I'm hoping it will, and then we would bond for that and perhaps look to CPC to pay some of the debt service. I don't have all the steps figured out yet. I've read about most of them, and I've had brief discussions with our finance director and with Allison and a few other people, but I just want to have a placeholder so that it doesn't get lost or fall off track. I'm not suggesting it's been lost before, but it's been stalled, and I really think it's imperative that we move it forward. So the CPC, I just don't want to confuse the committee by suggesting that it's a project that we're going to submit to you, because I think it's too large, and it would have to go through the town council and the whole bonding process through the town. So that's all. I don't know if that's helpful, Francis, but I got the impression from your question that you thought it was maybe coming into you in April, and it's not.
No, I just want to be sure that I and other committee members can review whatever applications we get before our next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I know, Francis, that you had mentioned that you were going to be
But
Yeah,
thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that.
I do know, I'm not sure, Mary, if you got my email from a few days ago, but I believe I was speaking to Stuart about the idea of, possible putting in, I'm sorry, there's just a disturbance in the other room, but that we can cover debt payments. It would have to be, the project would have to be under Chapter 44B. I'm not an expert on mass general law.
I did see that email, John, and those are the kind of things that we need to flesh out. But thank you for sending that along.
Definitely, yeah. Just so that, we're definitely going to be, I think, partners in this process for Heritage. So, okay. So as long as nobody else had any questions in regards to Heritage, seeing none, we're kind of going to round out the end here. So under rules and procedures, so all of you should have gotten, I know some of you also sit on other committees, so you also got this. So you got this double, the committee handbook, which will be kind of a good framework for rules, procedures, and things, so that, if we're kind of going off track here, that'll be kind of a good guide to make sure that, things are staying in line. So that's going to be kind of a helpful guide. And in that, one of those things is the position of treasurer. So my hope was to perhaps, I'm not sure who would be interested from the committee in potentially serving as treasurer. That would be a position maybe that somebody on the committee could serve on. This is not a huge position. This would just basically be helping me get quarterly budget numbers, very minimal light work, just sort of somebody in that capacity, in that position. So is anybody interested? Hearing none.
John, I'll take it, since the bonded projects were for pool and Brown property. So
okay. All right. So I would look favorably on approving Tom Kay to be our treasurer.
And that's just quarterly statements, correct?
Yeah, my hope is kind of every so often have quarterly statements come in, and sort of we can update the committee together on kind of where the numbers stand to make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Just what you just did.
Yes, essentially that.
Town accountant also, correct?
Yeah, so working with the town accountant and making sure the numbers are kind of in line, and so. So I will look favorably upon a motion to approve Tom as our treasurer.
So moved.
Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Okay. So by order of roll call, Francis?
Yes.
This is your nomination, but Tom? Or I think, do you have to abstain? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay, abstain. Lynn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
And Brian. Oh, and
Yes.
and Tony.
Yes.
Okay, good. I didn't miss it this time. And I am a yes as well. So Tom, thank you for taking on that responsibility. I appreciate it. So again, it'll be kind of a light thing. We basically just got the numbers recently. So this will be kind of good for, in a few weeks, once we kind of get new projects up and going, that'll be submitting for the April 1 deadline. That'll be good. So basically, so the agenda for the next meeting, again, I'm hoping to have all outstanding minutes that haven't been approved, get those together, and get those approved for our April 8th meeting. That'll be Thursday, April 8th, again at 6:30 via Zoom. So do that, get that out of the way, so then we'll be fully compliant and fully kind of up to date with minutes. At that point also, we'll start to perhaps look at these proposals that get submitted for April 1 and have kind of a first look at them. Some of it, we may only have them for a few days or so, being that the deadline's April 1, so people can submit up to that point. So I'm hoping to kind of just take a look at those at a beginner's stage, maybe have the applicants be here as well to talk about them. Later in the month, I have scheduled tentatively, excuse me, I'm sorry. What I'm hoping is maybe a formal public hearing. So maybe this can tie into a plan that we pull together in the next few weeks, or about the applications. So this would technically be invited to the public, and the public would have an opportunity to kind of weigh in on things. We have to have one each year. Technically, though, all of our meetings are open to the public, but technically we need to advertise a official public meeting. So we are going to try to do that maybe in the middle of April, perhaps, again on a Thursday, because Thursdays seem to pretty much work with the rest of the group. I believe that, and then I will also update the committee on progress with the town council in these previous applications that we've since approved now, a fifth one being the high school track application. So hopefully within I'm expecting the next few weeks, this month, next month, even into May, trying to get kind of an answer one way or the other on these projects at the town council level. I will be drafting up help, with Superintendent Smith, a cover letter for the track project, and then also working with Pine Knoll and the rec department and Tom on the cover letter for their project, and then kind of pushing these all forward and to the town council. So that pretty much kind of keeps us, caught up. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to maybe add on to the agenda for next month, or anything else for this evening that they wanted to, bring up briefly?
Chair,
Yes, Tom.
I'd like to make sure that the public knows that community preservation funds are for everybody, not for departments, or because you keep on saying recreation department or other school department. This is actually for the community to bring forward any project.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. As a reminder, private citizens, private nonprofit organizations, also, the school department or the rec department, anybody can bring applications to us that kind of fit into the criteria of open space recreation, affordable housing, or historic preservation. So that's open to everybody.
Should probably be on the website if it's not, John, and maybe in the reminder in advance of the deadline for applications. But again, a plan that would guide your committee would alleviate some of that difficulty year to year. But I agree wholeheartedly with Tom. I mean, I think the public could be much more engaged in applications for these funds than they currently seem to be in town. But
yeah, I totally agree. It's tough with Zoom, and just obviously tough even before COVID, kind of getting the public engaged. My hope is, if we have, long-term projects perhaps about heritage or about other popular areas in town that might come forward, that will attract people that are really passionate and want to see those places either, become an actual thing if it's building something new, or in addition to something on a property. I would like to see, more engagement, hopefully, ideally in the future from the community. Of course, everybody in the public has a right to attend the meeting. And I usually sometimes kind of look over at the attendees to see maybe if anybody's raising their hand. So if there's anybody from the public, I know we've had that a little bit in the past over this Zoom. So with that, so we'll be working towards all those different things for the next meeting. Next meeting's April 8th, Thursday, April 8th at 6:30. Does anybody else have anything else they wanted to bring up? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
Do I hear
I beat him to it.
Yes, you did. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. So I will go on roll call here. Francis?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Lynn? I think I heard a yes. Okay. Okay, good. Ralph?
Yes.
Brian? And
Yes.
and Tony. I can't
Yes.
forget. I keep okay. I am a yes as well. All right. Well, thank you everybody for the meeting, and I will see you all April 8th.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank you.
evening and a great weekend.